Welcome to our benchmarking websites tool. I'm here to present to you what it does, and it essentially welcomes all the teams that are delivering DBT to start benchmarking the results. So here on our website, if you get to our landing page, you'll be able to assess the benchmarking tool by clicking in this button, and you can here register your team if you haven't. So by clicking sign up for benchmarking, you'll be able to register your team. Make sure you take note of the details to assess your account later. And once you click register, someone from our team will then accept your team and get in touch with you. And we can clarify any doubts you might have. After registering, you will be able to go back to our homepage and where you can see all the teams that are already benchmarking. So you can see all of the teams here and all their settings, and they are all selected by default. So if you would want to just see the teams that are in an outpatient setting, you can unselect all the others and you would only see those. When you first log in, you will see some user agreements that you should read and make sure you're okay with. And then, so once you have a login, you will be able to log in your team's account, and every teams only have one login per team, so you will have the details shared between all of your members. So there are no individual logins. And when you log in for the first time, you will be taken to the quick start, where you can see all the steps to start benchmarking with your team. Okay, so on the step-by-step guide, you can see your advice to first go to the About and Instruments page, and if you click on it, you will see the objectives of this project, which are mainly to help teams benchmark their performance and make sure they are being able to achieve the benchmarks of RCTs and other empirical studies, and also compare themselves to other peers in an anonymous way, just to help them understand if their performance are where they would like it to be. And we also have people to help your team understand why you're having the results you're having. So this is the main objective of our project. And to do that, we ask you to do 3 assessment moments. And this is explained here in this page. And you can also see the instruments we are using. So we are asking teams to use the EQ5D, which is a health-related quality of life measure, the BSL, which is a borderline symptoms list, so focused on borderline symptoms, and you can also, and we ask you to use DERS, which is measured to measure difficulties in regulating emotions, which is a process we know it changes with treatment in DBT. So here you can find all the instruments, and once you're logged in, you can download them to check them in more detail. So you can see here the buttons to download any of these instruments. Apart from these 3 that we ask you to use, you can also see a couple others that they are all free to use as you would like, but they are not mandatory, or this is not something we ask you to do. It's just if you find it useful. Okay. So if we go back to the quick start, it would then advise you to go to the account settings to make sure you adapt the account settings to your team's details. So if you go to the account details, you will be asked to write the name that you want to show publicly on the website, to select your region where you're located, and as you can see in the client groups, it will show all the client groups possible by default. So please just take off the ones that do not apply to your team. And if you follow through, you can see the settings. So you can select the setting that applies, if it's outpatient, inpatient, whichever it applies to your team, or other if you see it's not any of these categories. And then we ask you to fill in your consult time and the consult date. We also ask you to add your program start, which means when your team first started delivering DBT, and this is about your team's experience, so this is important for us to know, to consider this when looking at your results. You then need to select if you're delivering full program DBT, if you're doing full program, and you also have some clients that are only doing skills, so you have the second option if that's the case. And if you are delivering any change to the standard DBT, so it can be to a specific setting or a different length, what we ask you is you can select the third option and then describe in as much detail as you can all the other information below here in this free to write square. So you can write it down here. If you are delivering both the full program and the skills, we ask you to please fill in your full treatment length in weeks in here, and also the DBT skills group, because this will help us and you to predict when your next client will be discharged once you start assessing them. So this is an important part for us in order to help you make sure you get all the data that you need. So once you did all this and any change you do in these settings, please always save in the end, because it will apply the changes you did. You can change this as many times as you want. After, you have the contact information, where we ask you to fill in as much as you feel comfortable with, and you can choose if you're going to share those contacts with other teams on the website, but they will never be public to other people that are not enrolled on the website. So here is where you can write the name, the address line, the postcode, which will be used to put you on the map. And then if you decide to share your contact information, then select share contact information with other teams. And if you want to show on the map that other teams can see your team is also benchmarking, you can click show, use address postcode, and the pin will be put on the map. So if you save, you should then be able to see your team on the map. If you then go to preferences, you will be able to select the instruments we want to use. So the 3 instruments that we advise you to use are the ones selected by default. And you can see 2 DIRs here, just to clarify that the first DIRs is 36 items, which is the complete one, but you can also use the short version, which is 18 items. If you choose that, you can select the other one and unselect the one it's there. So feel free to use as you feel it's better for you. Then you have the option to use self-assessment, which essentially, and I will show you this later, but it allows you to generate a link that you can then send to your clients. So if you decide to use this at some point, just tick this box, and you can also tick the second box to send an email every time a client will fill in an assessment. If you save this then can be applied and you will see this option. It doesn't mean you have to use it. And here is essentially what this instrument part is for. If you want any of the other instruments, you can click toggle extra instruments and it will show you all your options. And also you can see the instruments that are advisable for adults, adolescents, or that you can use by proxy. Finally, you have the login details. If at any point you need to change your email or reset your password, you can click here and it will instruct you how to do so. After you finish setting up your account, you can then set up your team. So this is something that you only need to fill in once, unless then your team changes. So if you go to My Team, you can add a team member because it will be your first team member, and it only asks you for the name, and you can use a pseudonym if you prefer, or just the initials, as long as you know who it is, and the weekly hours that they spend delivering DBT. For these hours, you have a couple of notes here to help you calculate this. So you should consider the time giving individual DBT sessions, the consult, and also the time preparing for skills program and delivering the skills. So if you think there's anything we should know additionally about this member, you can write it here on the notes, and you can then just save it. Let's imagine this. and add. So once you did this, you can then go and see your team or add the next person. And here you have the total amount of hours of all the members of your team, and you can update this at any point or remove a member if they leave your team. You also have a capacity planning manager in here, which is a tool that you can use to help you understand if your team is at capacity, considering the number of members you have and the number of hours they have. So I will show you briefly. You can then explore it as you want. So here it asks you about the number of sessions of each person, which corresponds to half a day. So if you would have a team, for instance, with 4 therapists that each of them would give 3 sessions, you would have 12 sessions, and you could calculate the staff utilization. And as you can see here, it tells you that you could have 4 therapists doing a group size of 8 people, having 4 sessions of consult, which mean all of you being in 1 consult per week, 2 skill sessions and 4 individual sessions in total. So this shows you how you would use your time and how much time is spared. And you can then show other options and play a bit to see how you could make your team the best and more effective as possible. So if we go back, you can see your team here, and we could now go back to the quick start, which will suggest you to, in the next point, to download our spreadsheet. So if you click here, it will show you how to download our spreadsheet. So in this spreadsheet, you can write the name of your clients or ID, and it is for your use only. So do code it however you want. The only thing you need to be sure is that you passed the pseudonym generated on the website in your spreadsheet. So once you have that paired, you can use them for the next assessment moments. After you come from the spreadsheets, you can then see if you admit someone for pre-treatment. This is where you will see the pseudonym that you need to add to your spreadsheet to make sure you keep track of who are your clients and which is the pseudonym on the website. It's very important for you to understand that the way our website is set up is that we never have any personal information of your clients at all. No age, gender, we will never ask you for this. And this is why it's completely anonymized and with the pseudonyms being generated randomly. That makes sure that we cannot have any connection with that information at all. Okay? So if we already have this set up, we can then admit for pre-treatment our first client. Just to clarify the terms that we have here in clients, so if you click clients, you have several options here to admit for pre-treatment. So this would be at referral time and before they start the pre-treatment. This is the first moment of assessment. The second moment of assessment would be admit for treatment, which is after they conclude the pre-treatment successfully and before they start the treatment with individual treatment and the group sessions as a whole. The last moment we ask you to assess your client is at discharge. So if they finish the treatment, great, you would assess them at discharge at that point, or if they for some reason leave the program before, you can still discharge them then and ask them to be assessed so you can have a measure before and after they have been into treatment. If you would want to assess your client at any other point, for instance in the middle of the treatment or even at follow-up, you can always use the option of additional assessment that you will find here. If you are going to assess for the first time, we would click admit for pre-treatment. So when you click admit for pre-treatment, the website generates a pseudonym automatically, and you can generate a new pseudonym if you like. And you then need to select your client group, the age group, and if your client is doing full program or skills. If your client is doing skills only, and for that reason you won't have 2 moments of assessment, you can click skip pre-treatment and it will admit them for treatment and just have another moment of assessment when they go at discharge. If you have the 3 moments, you should unselect this or not tick the box and just fill in the questionnaires as you have them. So you are able to fill in here the EQ5D. If you click on the question mark, you can see extra information about the instrument and how it's scored, if that's generating you any doubts, and download them from here too. Once you fill this in, you can see that the other instruments, you have the option to either fill in the score as a total and input the sum if you have it separate, or you can click toggle items and you can input the items one by one, and in this case you don't even need to score them, you just write them exactly as they are in your sheet. You can do this for BSL and DERS, as you can see, and then you can select the date when your client was assessed. So if you did this on paper and it was 2 weeks ago, you would click here and you can select the exact date when that happened and then click assess. You can also send a link for pre-assessment, as I mentioned before, and you would go here and send a form for self-assessment. Some teams also set this up in their computers and the person can fill it in the computer directly and then assess, and the data will be saved automatically, so it is easier and less prone to errors. If you click then send a form for self-assessment, you will be able to preview what your client will see. And as you can see, they only see the instruments, they can fill it in, go to the next and fill in the 3 instruments and then submit. And they won't be able to see their own pseudonym or any connection with the website. They don't need to log in, they don't need to do any of that. You just need to generate a link by clicking here. If you generate a link, you will be able to see it here and you can copy the link and send it on an email or on a message. It is possible to fill in by phone, or you can set it up on your computer. That easy. So once you do this, your client will then appear in your list of clients. So if you want to see that, you can click in clients and all clients, and you will see all the clients you have generated. So here they can be ordered by status, and you can see the next logical moment of assessment. So if we have assessed them for pre-treatment, we would then click admit for treatment when they get to that phase. And you can always select the option you prefer to assess them, or you can click view and you can see the assessments they have already made. So it will show you the scores if you want to see them. You can also, when clicking in all clients, you can see one of the measures here, so in their progress, and you're able to download the measures history with all the assessment moments of all your clients at any point you want. If your client is ready for discharge, you can come here at clients and discharge the client, which you would also do if, for instance, they dropped out of the program. You would need to discharge them. So you could click discharge here, and it will show you all the clients that are ready to be discharged. So if we click in one, you then select the way you're going to discharge them, and if it happens that your client dropped out and you don't have an assessment moment, you can click discharge without assessment, or you can upload their assessment as before, and in that case you're allowed here to select what was the reason for discharge, if they have finished treatment, dropped out, or there was any other reason for them to leave the program, and you can then save it as you did before. So once you have all the moments of assessment of your client, you will be able to go to the tab Analytics, and here you can find some summary information of the scores of your clients. So you will be able to see the means at pre-treatment, admission and discharge, the number of clients you have, and the whole time equivalent of your team, which you will then be able to compare against other teams when there's enough teams on the website for you to compare against. If you click clients over time, you can also see the admissions that you had across a time range that you can select. And if you click in clients progress, you will be able to see for each instrument all your clients and how they behaved in each of the assessment moments. So you can, if you want to look only at the clients that already finished the program, you can tick the box discharge only and the relative dates, and you will be able to see their progress across time. You can also go to analytics and reliable change, and this will show you how many of your clients have improved significantly, haven't changed significantly, or have deteriorated. And it will also show you the ones that recovered significantly to the point where they are not considered a clinical sample anymore. So that would be this green point. The ones that improved are these triangles that you can see here in blue, and you can also see these ones in orange, which are the clients that deteriorated. Here you can select each instrument and subscale to see these results. And if you toggle additional charts, you can also have a pie chart with these scores, and you can download it if you need to use it for your reports. So this is the information you can recover from here, and this blue line is based on a critical value that allows you to see based on studies. This is what you would be able to see now, and once you have more clients and you are in a position to be compared against your peers, what will happen is that you'll have an additional benchmarking tab in the future where you will be able to see how your team compares with the other teams in these several different instruments. So this is a feature that will become live when we have enough teams enrolled on our website. So please try our website, and if you have any doubt at any point, you can go here at AIMS, and you have our email that you can contact benchmarking@dbttraining.co.uk. You can also download the guide for the website here if you'd like, or we can go to you and help you understand anything that was not clear. Thank you for watching. And enjoy our benchmarking website tool.